I didn't wake up one day and decide that I wanted to become an emotional healing guide and then start learning the material to teach it to others. Everything that I teach in my practice is what I've learned over the last decade while trying to make myself feel better and to heal my own trauma. I was 17 when I met the love of my life. I was too young and naive to understand that the life he was living was going to get me in trouble. All I saw was a good looking, older, charismatic man that I fell in love with. And over the next decade, his drug addiction became mine. And I spent about 5 years partying and then eventually entered what I call my heroin half coma. I was an IV user and spent about 5 years doing whatever it took to get my next high. I was pretty grimy. I sold drugs to people that I knew were trying to get sober, and I did a lot of stuff that I am not proud of. But in 2012, something really tragic happened to me. I had a miscarriage, and I didn't know that I was pregnant, and I took the news pretty hard. But instead of spiraling out of control, I decided it was time to do something about my problem. And I packed up my life and moved out of town. And I didn't tell my boyfriend that I was leaving because I didn't want him to have a chance to talk me out of it. Being in a new town and being newly sober was pretty terrible. I was completely alone and I kicked drugs cold turkey. So to say being sober sucked is definitely an understatement. After a while, I started searching for something to make me feel whole. I knew that there had to be something out there that would ease my heartache, but nothing seemed to work. And that's when I stumbled across the work of Carl Jung and his shadow work theories. And I was amazed and I was hooked instantly. So I began to devour all of his work, and soon that led to inner child healing. I began journaling daily and meditating to meet my inner child and my shadow self, and it worked. I started to feel better, not instantly, but the more I do it, the better I feel. And I was able to get a hold on my trauma that was eating me alive and learn to cope with it on my own. At the beginning of this year, I realized that if it worked for me so well, then I had an obligation to show it to others. And that's when Wistful Wounds Awakening was born. So my practice is fairly new. I have worked with a couple of clients and they have been thrilled with the outcome of my programs, which makes me feel amazing. And I guess I told you that to say this. You will never be fully healed, but there are ways that you can learn to cope and accept your trauma and live a normal life where you're not being eaten alive by guilt or shame or whatever it is that you might be feeling. My mission is to help as many people as I can to find what works for them based on what I know. So I'm kind of new to this, and you may or may not have started your own healing journey. If you're living with trauma, you owe it to yourself, to your family, to the people around you, to try to do what you can to feel better. If this resonates with you, let's hop on a quick call. No pressure, no sales. I can either help you or I can't. And a brief chat will help you make an educated decision about whether or not this type of healing path is right for you and if I'm the person to help. If you're ready to give it a shot, just click the link in my bio to book a clarity call. Let's get your feet planted firmly on your path to healing. I'm Jem.